From some of the best characters to incredible stories to even better experiences, video games have it all. But films based on those same worlds are on another level. Here are some of the best ones, starting with Detective Pikachu. This one came out all the way back in 2019, and many people really thought it would be bad. Like, bad.
What is that?
Silent but deadly. Apologies, my tummy's bad from all the coffee.
No, ew, get off.
Though the film itself surprised everyone out there. That's not to say that it followed the source material to the dot. Somehow it managed to find the perfect middle ground, keeping the universe the same in spirit but changing just enough to keep it entertaining in a film format.
Does he recognize you? I think he recognizes you.
Well, I was Harry's partner, so I would have been with him.
The story itself didn't break traditional norms. It was all the pretty basic stuff that was executed exceptionally. The story revolves around a young man called Tim, who's trying to find his father, a detective. In a sudden turn of events, he's then teamed up with this sarcastic and hilarious Pikachu that can speak English. The two then have to go about saving the day. But what makes it shine is the connection between both characters.
Oh, what's this?
Oh, there's a door there. I didn't, probably because it's invisible.
Yeah. I'm in your space now, right?
I mean, the lines that both of them shared starting out being hilarious, but with time turned into something incredible. The two ended up sharing a connection that touched everyone's hearts. Along with that, of course, the fast-paced action that somehow kept your attention the entire time. All of that was possible only because of the team's incredible efforts and how they used the technology made available to them.
It's very much.
All right. Okay, you wanna play that game?
Who would have ever thought that a semi-live-action Pokemon film would be one of the best in the franchise? With that said, Detective Pikachu isn't the only adaptation that went down this route. I can't forget about Sonic the Hedgehog. Both films were incredible, so I will be talking about them together. Both films are just as special to fans, mainly because the Sonic lore is all over the place. All filmmakers needed to do for this one was make a story that somewhat went along with the little source material and build off it. Something that no one had been able to get right for years. Another big thing about these films is that they finally decided to listen to the fans after years of horrible adaptations. The only reason it, or at least the first film, didn't do as well is mainly that it came out during the lockdown era. The first film showed how an alien hedgehog landed on Earth and made it his home, but was mainly a loner. Later, he finally finds people he can call a family while going up against the evil Dr. Robotnik, or Eggman, if you will. The second film also had him as the main villain. He was much more powerful this time. Not just that, but you finally got to meet some of his best friends, Tails and Knuckles. And of course, who can forget about Super Sonic? But what made it work is that it had the same super fast, flowy feet that fans had been missing from the games for a long time. The film effortlessly brought that onto the screen, something that the games themselves haven't been able to pull off ever since 3D Sonic became a thing. Fans loved the films so much that they are reportedly working on a third film right now. But that's nothing compared to Tomb Raider 2018. This film shook people up like the game's series reboot from back in 2013. While previous attempts at a Tomb Raider adaptation went for more of a typical action film vibe, they changed things around this time. Much like the game's reboot, you saw Lara in a much more serious and gritty way this time. And that wouldn't have been possible without the Oscar-winning Alicia Vikander rocking the role. She did a better job than Angelina Jolie at bringing the best sides of the character out while still showing off her struggles. It's still one of her best films. They stuck close to the source material, making making it all the better. Throughout the film, Laura continuously searches for her missing father as she goes through some of the most beautiful but deadly exotic locations possible. Another thing that fans really loved about this film is that, unlike previous entries, it wasn't afraid of being absolutely brutal. That, mixed in with many dramatic stakes and even more realism, made it something special. On the other hand, another film that really upped how gritty it was is 2021's Mortal Kombat. The franchise is all about fighting, making it the most important part of the film, something that previous entries weren't able to get right all the time. But the adaptation in 2021 really took it up a notch. I mean, if you just look at the fight scenes alone, that's enough for most fans of the franchise to deem it worthy. There's so much blood and brutality in the film that even longtime fans of the franchise were left surprised. While you don't follow the story of any big-name fighter already established in the universe, instead you're following along with an ex-MMA fighter called Cole Young, who's suddenly invited to take part in the tournament. But because of that, you get to see some of the best characters from the games, such as Sub-Zero, Scorpion, and even Sonya Blade, fight each other to the death. Though I do have to admit that the dialogue isn't the best out there. No one knows the franchise for its dialogue, so it's not that big of a deal. You're probably there for some of the most brutal fights to ever exist, and this film has it all, and then some more. But everyone expected it to be a good film, and it lived up to it, though it wasn't the same for Wolverines Within. Back in 2016, Ubisoft put out a VR game by the same name. While the game itself doesn't really have a really deep lore or narrative of itself, at least not enough to make a film out of it, it had a lot of potential, something that the filmmakers were able to point out, and it made an incredible film. The story revolves around a group of people in Beaverfield when suddenly a storm hits and a few dead bodies turn up. Since no one else is in town, the people whose story you follow have to figure out who the killer could be. It's arguably one of the most interesting adaptations out there and shows just how incredible they can be if they're done right. Not just that, but it went for a more comedic element, truly bringing out the spirit of the game itself, essentially adding on to it rather than trying to be its own thing. And finally, I have to talk about Uncharted, probably the latest adaptation out there, at least in the form of a film and not a show. While this film isn't perfect, it still managed to bring one of the most iconic series to the screen in a brilliant way. Sure, the casting could have been better in terms of their physical appearances, but giving up on that for acting skills may have been the right call. What you get is undeniably Nathan Drake in every aspect of the character. Not just that, but Mark Wahlberg also does an incredible job as Sully, though I will point out that they may have messed up a bit with Chloe Frazer, but everything other than that is like watching a long cutscene from the game. So it's pretty obvious why fans all over the globe loved it. The film centers around the story of Nathan Drake, who stumbles upon Sully as they too go on a quest to find Nathan's brother and a hidden treasure. That's been a look into some of the best video game movies.